name's Jules. I'm a surface pattern designer and also a senior lecturer in textile design. And I specialise teaching the digital aspect of textile design from Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator and also a little bit of Procreate. What I want to take you through is this fantastic tool within Adobe Illustrator. Super quick to do. And I use it a lot within my own practice as a designer as a way to sort of select colours from images that I love. Because one of the key parts of being a designer is to research into colour and come up with wonderful colour palettes to work with. So let's get started with this. So in front of you, you can see an image that I have here. This is an image that I've taken from Adobe stock, but you can take images from anything that you love the use of colour. So we'll start up a new file. So File, New. And again, you've got your document window that comes open here, and I use a lot of different sizes. So at this point, decide what size you're familiar with working. I'm going to stick to working with A4, but equally if you're in America, you're maybe more familiar using the letter size one, but I'll go with my A4. And I'll make sure my orientation is in portrait, and I'll just reduce my artboards to 2. So, and advanced modes, you can either choose to work in CMYK or RGB. I often use RGB mode even when I'm working in Illustrator, because often I will digitally print the designs out onto fabric, and that will often work in RGB. But again, you can choose which one you're familiar with and create. So I've opened up a window here. So what we want to do is bring in some of the images we want to sort of go through with this tool. So I've already saved one, so File, we're going to place it in. So File, Place. And I'll go for this one here. No, I'll go for this one. And Place. So when I place it in, what you can see, there's a blue cross going through the image. I'm just going to reduce it down a little bit. I'm holding down the Shift key and the selection tool, and that reduces the size. So I want to make sure this image is going to be embedded in it. Basically that means because it's a JPEG image, we need to embed it into the Illustrator file. So when you open up image or the file again, the image is there. So we'll go to Window and we'll go down to Properties. And I often have my Properties palette open because it has lots of useful options. So you'll see the quick actions, and I'll just click on the embeds. So the blue cross should disappear. So we'll keep a copy of the original image, and I want to take a copy of this because we're going to use that to get the colours from. So I'm clicking on the image, holding down the Option or the Alt key, depending if you're a PC user. So you've got a duplicate of that image there. I'll just move that to the side. I'm now going to use a fantastic tool. It's called the Object Mosaic. So Object down to Create Object Mosaic. So this dialog box here pops up, and we'll go through some of these different sizes as we're going through. Let's just keep it at the number of tiles it's in it to start off with. So we're not going to change. Often you go back to the default one is the 10 by 10. So we'll say, okay, we'll not worry about any other ones. We'll see what happens here. Okay, so what it's done, it's then converted this image to all these little blocks of colour, which actually is a great idea when you're wanting to break down an image to then start to think about your colour palette. Just tapping back into the one that I opened with, where you start to pick colours that you're inspired by the image. And often if you break down it into these block forms, mosaic ones, it's easier to pick colours from. Also what I'm doing, just to explain what I've got on the screen here, I often encourage my own students to use technical or to create technical pages with information as they're learning new techniques. So I've got a little title page in here, and this might form part of their practice. I've got a little bit colour and inspiration from the image. So again, if I've got that for my designer, I put the designer's name there. And I've got the little colour palette. So there's other options that we can go through with the mosaic one. So clicking back on to this one, and I'll move across. I'll take another copy of this. I'm clicking on the selection tool, Option Alt, that allows me to copy, and I'm pressing down the Shift key so it aligns there. Let's go back into the Object Mosaic tool. So Object, Create Mosaic. This time I'm going to change some of the settings in here. So it's a rectangle, so it's longer that side and shorter that side. So we might want to increase the size of the tiles. They're the width there, so it's 15. And we'll keep that at 10 just to see what we get. And okay. So this time you're getting more boxes going across, and we'll still get the 10 going down there. So you can really play around with the different sizes of the tiles. I'll just undo that and we'll try some other options as well. So Object, Create Object Mosaic. And this time we can play around with the spacings of the tiles. So let's take it up to, in fact, I'll not take it down, 10 by 5. Okay, so we want to change the spacings we have here. Also want to, at this point, we want to tick this box here, which is the delete raster, because what you'll find that the raster is the image. We want to not have that underneath the one. So I'll show you what happens and I'll come back and do this one. So again, you can try all different sizes in here. And so I'm not doing it very much. In fact, I'll take that up, that's a little bit too small. You might not be able to see the difference there, and press OK. Okay. So at this point you can't really see much in the way of spacing. There's a slight spacing there, but there's also the image that's underneath. So I'll try another option. So the spacing was probably too small, and again you might go back and try once. Let's just go back in. So Object, Create Mosaic. I'll keep it at the 5, and let's take this up. A bit ambitious there, right? And what you can see, what's happening now is I'm clicking onto that. It's constraining. Once it's changing the sizes automatically. So if we want to put in an actual size, we can undo the constraint options. So what you have now is all these little boxes. Now I'm just going to move this to the side. So what it does when you put the spacings in, the image underneath remains. So I can move that. This is what we're really looking for. But to go back to this option here, let's click on it again. And Objects, down to Object Create Mosaic tool. This time we want to make sure this little box here is ticked so that you don't have the image underneath. So untick that. And we can play around with the different sizes of the tiles. Put 8. And you can decide if you want just to have the spacing on one on the width or on the height. What have I got? I'll make that 10. So that's a centimetre. Okay, so you can see what's happening there. You're getting quite a big space in there, but again, what it can be quite a nice thing for, this can be act as a little kind of colour proportions. So it really is about playing around with the tool. Let's tap into the original one that I've got here. So these are all different options. And I'll talk you through what I've done with some of these ones here. So again, I've got this image that I've taken from Adobe Stock. This is, just to recap, Object, down into Create Object Mosaic. And again, I'll just change the sizing here. So you've got it smaller, longer. Let's just reduce the sizes along. I'll make that 5 and I'll make that 10. So you can see the sizes there. Undo that. Other options. Again, what I've done with this one, I'll just try Object create, mosaic. I'll bring in my spacing with this one here, so I'll put some more tiles in. I'll put 10 and 20. So you can really play around. There's no specific size of tiles you want to put in. It really depends on your image and also how many boxes you want. Sometimes when there's too many boxes, it can be quite difficult to make decisions about colour palette. Sometimes if you have larger boxes, it gives you less colours to choose from, but again, that might make it easier to make a colour palette from it. And we could play around with the sizes. So this time I'll just do, so you can see automatically when I've clicked onto that, I put on the 0.5, but it's automatically changed it there. It's telling me that this 0.5 is too big. I'll just leave the height as it is, so we're just changing the width. Okay, so what you have there is all these little columns. And all I did with this one here, I rotated it. So you've got your rotating tool, or you could then rotate it using your bounding box. So you have it pressing down the shift so it does it parallel. So you have a horizontal box of boxes. Undo that. So it really is playing around with the different options. Just moving on to show you what I've done here. So in this image, I've got the same image, but what I've done, I've actually distorted the image. Zoom out. So from this image here, I'll just pull it across so you can see what I've done. And instead of doing it in proportion, I've just been pulling, so that's distorting the image. So the image doesn't look great, but it's not really about the image, it's about pulling colours from it. So again, you've got objects down to create object mosaic. Again, I'm going to go for lots of colours this time. So you can have it there. So you get all these different colours. So the colour ones here are not distorted, but you're getting different positions of colour from this one here. And a little neat trick, what you can do at this point, there's almost like a pattern emerging within here. And as us, we are surface pattern designers, we automatically want to think about how we can create patterns. I'm just going to bring in the swatches. So this is an extra little tip we have. I've got my swatches palettes, and I've already tried it with a few of these ones out the way. And I'm selecting all of it, and I'm going to drag it into my swatches so it appears in your swatch palette. So slightly moving away from the swatch and see how we can create patterns. I'm dragging over using a rectangle and I'm clicking on there. So you're creating this pattern using the mosaic tool. So that's an extra little tip here. So it's a super simple tool to use. With these ones here, I've also done the same. I've got an image. Second one, I've distorted it, pulling it across. It creates different ones here. I've been playing around with different sizes of the boxes. And again, it's very much up to you how you want to use it. I use it a lot to create these colour palettes from. So I'll use the stripes, and just to sort of show you how to start off very quickly, I'm just going to change that into my black and white. Ignore that. So I've got my little boxes here. I'll just ungroup it, ungroup. So it allows me from my little boxes to then, from the palettes above, start to think of colours I might want to use. And again, I'm doing this a little bit quicker than I would normally, so I'll pick a colour palette. So you're not getting too kind of bogged down looking at the image, you're looking at the colours and how the colours work together. So that is the object mosaic tool. So hopefully you find that useful. So certainly with the pattern social, you'll find more little tips and tricks coming on the Creatives Club there as well. So enjoy playing around with creating your own colour palettes.